Vaheguru, 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 Vaheguru,
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. It might seem a bit strange, you come to Gurdwara and there's a talk on what is WhyGuru. Because sometimes we assume that this is known. The Gurdwara assumes that we all know what WhyGuru is. And also the people assume when they're talking to you that you know what God is. And I know what God is. But this is a topic which is very important. And if it wasn't so important, then Japji Sahib wouldn't start off with a description of WhyGuru. The first thing that we read when we read Gurbani, Guru Granth Sahib Ji, is a description of WhyGuru. The first thing every Sikh reads in the morning is a description of WhyGuru. And then when we do it 5 times, then we're reminding ourselves, what is WhyGuru for us? Yeah? And we're trying to connect to that WhyGuru. So, this is very important. We can't just assume that everybody knows what this is. And the second part is we must all be aware that if you're a Sikh outside in public, people will ask you, who is your God? Very common question. Yeah? Because they'll be wondering, who is your God? And so we have to have an answer to that as well. And it's funny, we made a video about this online, who is the Sikh God? So you can watch that, it's kind of like a short summary of this. But so just so that we're all on the same page, we've got clarity, we'll start with the Mool Mantar. So really, Maharaj starts off, the Mool Mantar we know, some people say it's up to Guru Prasad, other people say it's up to Nanak Kosi Pisat. But let's just take that bit which is up to Guru Prasad. Now in that part, as far as Sikh history would tell us, as far as Guruji would tell us, that bit, some people call it Mool Mantar, some people call it Maha Mantar. The fact is though, that came from God. The history of that is that Guru Nanak Dev Ji went to the throne of God. When Maharaj was about 30 years old, 29 years old, they went to the throne of God. And there, they were given this. So we'll just repeat that now. Very quickly, in the next 10 minutes, we'll try and go through it. And Maharaj says, Ik Oankar Sat Nam Karta Purkh Nirpau Nirvair Akal Murat Ajuni Sapang Guru Prasad. It's amazing that the Mool Mantar starts with a number. Not a letter, not a word, but a number. Ik. Unambiguous. In any language you can say this letter. Doesn't mean it's number. It's not a word. If it was a word, someone would have claimed that it means something else. People are like that. They'll make up some funky meaning. So the number is very important. Also, it's linguistic. In any language you can say this number. People don't read numbers in the language they're written in, they read it in their own language. Yeah? So you can write Tera in Punjabi, but an English person, if they knew how to read it, will still think 13. Right? So Ik is 1. Unambiguous. And also, it means that it's not any Devi Devte. It's a revolutionary concept at that time. Maharaj has in one word explained that the whole of creation, whole of us, we should worship the one, but also for all those Hindus that are out there, Maharaj has said Devi Devte mean nothing, there's only one. So, and because this is a number, it's not just consciousness, abstract consciousness. So when Buddhism would come up with the idea of consciousness, Maharaj has told us that it's not consciousness, there is one being. And later on Maharaj says Karta Purkh. Purkh itself means a being as well, a person. So WhyGuru has a character, if you want to say. It's a person, it's not a person, but it's a being, but it's not somebody who is abstract. We can't understand it, but it definitely has a character. And that character is explained to us in Gurbani as well. Also, even if we think about science, Big Bang, it will tell us that everything started from one, singularity. So from the Ik, then it says Om, Now that Om is the primal sound. This is what created the world. In Hinduism they have the meaning, we can go much further into Om God, we won't go through it now, but there is a meaning for Om. Everything Om God, like Hinduism has Om, that's made up of 3 sounds. And Guru Sahib explains those 3 in Ik Onkar as well. But if one meaning is that the sound made a God, creation was made by the Ik, or with the sound Om made a God, what we see. So the fact that everything is created by that one, it didn't come about just spontaneously, it was created by the Ik with the sound. Kita pasao eko kavao. So with that one word came everything. And then this is the Sat, the truth, the eternal truth, not just the truth that we might say, oh, main jhoot bolya, main sach bolya, not that kind of truth, but the eternal thing. The only thing that is real is Ik Onkar. So the Ik is the only thing that's real. And then Maharaj says ki Naam. This one is found through the name. The connection to the divine is what a good way to understand the name. How we connect to Vaheguru is how one can actually find Vaheguru, and the clue of this is that Vaheguru is attainable to us. It's not something which is lost, it's something that we can actually find. So the name of Sat allows us to connect to the Sat. It's a lovely circle. Sat Naam. Naam comes from Sat, and the Naam comes from Sat, and it joins us back to the Sat. So Sat Naam. The Maharaj says Karta Purkh. Now we'll go into Naam later on, but inside Mool Mantar, inside this Maha Mantar, there are 5 names of God. These are the 5 next ones. There's Karta Purkh, Nirpao, Nirvair, Akal Murad, Ajuni Saipam. And then the separate part is Gur Prasad. Now if we take those 5 out, what we end up with is Ik Onkar Sat. Ignore Naam for now. Gur Prasad. See? So the shortened form of that is Ik Onkar Sat Gur Prasad. So the Naam and the Gur Prasad can be swapped. The reason for that is Guru gives Naam. Yeah? Guru gives Naam, that's how we can swap those two. Naam also explains to us in Gurbani ki Naam is the enemy of Homme. We just talked about it in the Hukumnama, that we don't understand ourselves. Why is that? Because we've got an ego. We talk about Homme in more detail today. Homme is the opposite of Naam. This is why Naam destroys and gets us back to Sat, because it destroys our ego. So Gur Prasad, we get the Naam. Yeah? And the Naam destroys our ego, so we go back. So what Guruji is also from Sat and joins us back to Sat. That's why they swap. Naam comes from Sat and joins us to Sat, and Guruji comes from Sat and joins us to Sat. Gur Prasad. And the 5 names. Karta Purkh. Normally people say this means creator. It does mean creator, but it also means Kartaya. He does everything. Punjabi Karta means, did you do this or not? Guru Sahib is saying Vaheguru does everything, good and bad. There is no devil, there is no idea of somebody who is causing bad things to happen and God is causing good things to happen. The question that people have is, if God is good, why are there bad things? Guru Sahib doesn't say this here. Maharaj nowhere says God is good. Maharaj says God is Karta Purkh. He's the one that's doing everything. So, although we may not understand why bad stuff happens to us, later on Guru Sahib tells us that Vaheguru is Dayalu, is compassionate. So there's a bigger plan, but we don't see it. Just like our parents sometimes might give us a thapad, a slap. But that's not meant to, it's meant to hurt us there and then, but it's meant to teach us something. Right? So this God, Vaheguru, is our parent. And later on we'll find out that Guruji actually tells us that this is just a form of learning. There's a bigger plan behind, we can't see it. So Karta Purkh is doing everything. Nirpao. Vaheguruji is without fear, and Vaheguru is Nirvair, without any hatred or without any enemies. So Vaheguruji is open to everybody. This gives us our ethics. Sikhi is about Nirpao, Nirvair. Guru Sahib tells us, Na koi bairi, nahi bigana. Sagal sang humko banai. So we have no enemies and we have no strangers. This comes from Nirpao, Nirvair. Our ethics come from this. And then finally, Akal Murad, immortal. Time is Kal. Everything in Kal is time, is subject to death. Vaheguruji is outside of time, is immortal. and therefore is not subject to death. So is free of death. Akal, Moorat. Their form is that outside of time, therefore God doesn't get old. Moorat means form. If it's a form that is outside of time, it's not an old man in heaven. Yeah? We might think ourselves that there's some old guy with a big beard, chitti dari, looking down at us from above, but that's not WhyGuru, because WhyGuru is outside of time. So we just read earlier on in Shabad Azare, Sahib Mera Neet Nava, Sada Sada Datar. Nava in Punjabi means new. So God is always new. Every day God is new. We might get old, God doesn't get old. We might die, God does not die. So it's not an old man in heaven. That's why children can be one with God. Because God is not old. God is timeless. So then it says, Ajuni Sapam. Ajuni means WhyGuru is outside the cycle of June. 8.4 million lives. The clue is, we're not Ajuni. We are inside that life cycle. WhyGuru is outside the life cycle. Now there's people nowadays that will say, oh, reincarnation is not true. But Gurbani tells again and again and again, reincarnation is extremely true. Bahut janam ke pichde the madho, eho janam tumhare likhe. This, we've been separated from God for so many lives, 8.4 million lives. If you had £1 for every one, you'd be a millionaire, multi-millionaire now. How many lives have we been separated? Mala says, but this life dedicated to WhyGuru, Ajuni, and then Sapang. Sapang means self-created. No one made WhyGuru. Like we say, Ades, they say Ades, Ad, Anil, Anad, Anahat, Jug Jug Eko Ves. Anad means there is no beginning to WhyGuru. No one made WhyGuru. WhyGuru's always been around, and no one can say when WhyGuru was made. But the world has not always been around. WhyGuru made the world, so we know that they made it from the sound Om. And then Guru Sahib says ki Gur Prasad. So one experience, one meaning of this, just for WhyGuru, not about Guru, is that the experience of that Sat. When we say Naam, when we say Vaheguru, 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 as we say WhyGuru's name, we start to experience WhyGuru. As we said, the Sat name comes from Sat, and we go back to Sat. So the experience of that Sat is enlightening, is the Guru Prasad. When we experience WhyGuru, you can't experience WhyGuru without being enlightened a little bit. It's like a light in the dark. So therefore, you will be able to see a bit clearer after you've met WhyGuru. The only way to meet WhyGuru is to say the Naam. So then Maharaj explains to us that one way of the Sat being Guru Prasad is that WhyGuru is a form of Guru. Meeting WhyGuru, you go from Gu, which is darkness, to Ru, which is light. So therefore, we can say now that Naam, this is what we talked about, Dasam Dwar, up here, Dasam Dwar is directly connected to Guru Prasad. Yeah? And our Guru, when we say Samrat Guru, Sirhat Taryo, our Guru has put his hand on our head. When he's put his hand on our head, what's he doing? He's opening up Dasam Dwar for us. He's letting us experience God. That's the key thing over here, that we are trying to go upwards from here where we are normally to up here. And the way to do that is to experience WhyGuru through the Naam. Okay, so after this there's a slok. Now the story I said to you is that Guru Nanak Dev Ji got this Mool Mantar from God's court directly up to Guru Prasad. And then Guru Sahib themselves said the next following words, Japa. Japo. Don't get confused about should I not, is it ritualism, is it not, is it parrot talk? Jap. Say WhyGuru's name. This is the way to do it. And then Maharaj says, Ad Sach, Jugad Sach, Happy Sach, Nanak, Wasipi Sach. The word Nanak comes into this slok because Guru Nanak Dev Ji wrote this. Although it's God's words, Guru Nanak Dev Ji wrote this. He didn't get given it from God directly in God's throat, in court. So here, Maharaj is telling us that before time started, WhyGuru was true. We know in science that time is a dimension. Before time started, WhyGuru was true. Then Jugal Sach. When time started, at the start of time, then WhyGuru was true. And then Happy Sach. Even now WhyGuru is true. And Nanak says, Hosi Pi Sach will forever be true. So with this slok added together, we can call it the Mool Mantar in total. And this is something for us to jump. We have to chant this again and again. Now I want to give a few analogies of Sikhi, of WhyGuru given in Gurbani. One analogy used by Maharaj is the ocean. The WhyGuru is like an ocean. So we can see that if WhyGuru is like the ocean, we're like a drop from that ocean. Or to make it simpler, we're like a glass. Yeah? Because people might think, oh, I don't know about a drop. But if you think about a glass, it can make a bit of sense, because here's a glass, I put it into the ocean and it's full of water. Now I put that glass back into the water, right? But it's not touching it. The water is slightly separate. Now the water inside the glass is the same as the water from the ocean. There's no difference in the water, right? So Maharaj tells us ki sab mein hai jyot hai soe. That light of God is inside every single person. So each of us is like that glass. But here's the funny thing. The water inside the glass says, I'm not part of that ocean. I never came from the ocean. Ocean hai nahi. There is no ocean. Because all around me, there's a glass. So it thinks, see that glass? That's ego. Ego is telling us we exist. But actually only the ocean exists. But that glass is not one of those glasses that's not degradable. This is a glass that we can dissolve into the water. It can dissolve if we allow it to. If we allow God to come inside us, then we will be able to dissolve this glass. That's why in another side it says, "E Srira Meriya, is jag mein aaye ke kya tu karam kamaya? Ke karam kamaya tu Srira, ja tu jag mein aaya, jin har tera rachan rachya, so har manna vasaya." The one who made you, you didn't let him sit inside your mind. So God can sit inside. If we think of ourselves as a cup, God can come and sit inside that cup. That's what Guru Sahib is telling us. We're like a panda. And earlier on we talked about how to make yogurt and how to get butter from the yogurt. There's actually a line in Gurbani which explains us how to make yogurt. And it says that we are the panda. And at the end of Japji Sahib, Guru Sahib tells us, Panda pao amrit tittal. So this panda is us. We are that panda. And inside us can either be WhyGuru or it can be our ego. So we have the choice. Another one used for us is Jor. The WhyGuru is like a force, an energy force. Jor. And we say that, Jis hat jor karve khe soe. He has a jor. He says in Bani, Keta tan swalyo roop. You have so much power, WhyGuru. You have so much power. You are so beautiful. So God is like an energy force for us. It's not an old man in heaven. God is like an energy force for us. Another word used for God is the parent. Tu maat pita hum barik tere. So Guru Sahib says that WhyGuru is like our parent, therefore a parent protects us. And WhyGuru is compassionate. Now this is not some Devi Devte. We don't have to call Devi Ma, Chandi Ma is our Ma. No. WhyGuru is our Ma. This is not about attributing the Divine Mother and then making it come separate down into a separate deity. This is still the one we're talking about here. The one is protects, is compassionate, but unfortunately we don't understand, so we cry out. Yeah? We have Meri Mat Thodi Ram. Our mat is so low, we think bad is happening to us. Guru Sahib is telling us it's not bad, it's good for you, you just don't see it. Also, we know that Maharaj tells us that God is like the sun. Now, in one way, there's the sun and there's the moon. So if God is the sun, then Guru Sahib is the moon. We'll talk about that when we come to Guru. Yeah? But if we say God is the sun, then Guru Sahib tells us, Suraj kiran mile, jal ka jal hova ram. The aim of a Sikh is to become like the sunlight. God is the sun, we want to be like the sunlight. We want to be a light of the sun. And also, like water and water. So if God is the ocean, we want to become like that water inside the ocean. We want to merge. You can't tell the sunlight separate from the sun, because it's almost the same thing. The same with water. Now, one of the ways that's used in Gurbani is that God is a forgiver. This is something very hard for us to do, because if we come from the Western world, there's a lot of guilt attached to religion. Yeah, we're so bad. Oh, I want to whip myself and beat myself. I'm so bad. Yeah, the problem with this is that it holds us back from embracing God. We actually don't think we're worthy of God. And this is something that is even inside all the Sikh community as well. It's inside every human being. We don't think we're worthy of WhyGuru. So Guru Sahib tells us that WhyGuru is always forgiving. Sada Sada Dayal. Sada Sada Mehervan. Mehervan means he is compassionate. Dayal means he is compassionate. Bakshanahar. He is a forgiving God. and in Patit Pavan. Patit Pavan means that the person who is Patit, who is turned away from God, who is a sinner, is made Pavan, purified. He's a purifier of the sinners. So there's a line in Gurbani where Bhagat Namdev Ji looks at God and he says, if I didn't do bad, if I wasn't a puppy, who would call you the destroyer of sin? He said, you need me. You need me to do paap so that you can be called the destroyer of sin. But it's not that we just carry on doing paap. It's just an analogy for us to understand that this is just part of that game. Vaheguru is Karta Purkh. When we did bad, it was part of that game. Yeah, it's all coming back from Karta Purkh. And then, the Vaheguru is the Master. He is our Lord, Sacha Sahib. So, if He is the true Master, then we have to submit our ego to God. His homage has to be given to Vaheguru. And the problem is the homage is holding us back. So actually the submission, if we say Islam, the word Islam means submission. Submission is the game. We have to submit the self towards Vaheguru. And funnily enough, when we come to Gurdwara, first thing we do is Matha Tek. We start with submission, the next thing is progression. Some people are just stuck in submission, they haven't gone up. Yeah? Maharaj is telling us submit first, then take the naam and go upwards. So the next step, Guru Sahib tells us some more Bani. Now here's a funny one that sometimes people find a little bit confusing to understand. The Vaheguru is the husband Lord. Yeah? Is our husband. So Sikhi tells us that all of us are women. Is jag mein purak ek hai. There's only one male being in this whole world. Everybody else is a woman. You might think, well, I'm not a woman, I'm a man. It doesn't. For God, we're all women. Because He is the bigger half. Yeah? It's not sexist in that traditional sense, where you might think that Punjabi society was sexist. Fair enough, it might well have been, yeah? But in this case, Guru Sahib has made us all into women and has told us that we should be looking up to that husband Lord. Not saying to our wife, look at me, I'm your husband Lord. All of us have a husband Lord, which is Guruji. And actually, at the deepest levels of spirituality, it says to Guru Sahib says to Vaheguru, ravish me like the bride of the bridal bed. Sometimes we get a bit skeptical about saying that in Gurbani, right? But Guru Sahib is telling us that God will ravish us in the same way that a husband might ravish a wife. Now it's not the kind of, it's not meant to be sort of sensual. It's meant to be that we get absorbed and we enjoy Vaheguru. So God is not sad feeling. When we experience Vaheguru, it's not a sad feeling where we think, oh, I need to be more religious, I need to more. This naam is an experience which blows our mind. It's amazing. And it's better than sex, especially what Guru Sahib is saying. It's better than all these things that we thirst for. Maharaj says in Gurbani, ki e rasna, tu andras rach rahi, teri pyas na jaye. Oh my tongue, you are trapped in the lower things. Teri pyas na jaye. Pyas na jaye, hod kitte chare, har ras palle na paye. Until you find this har ras, this juice of God, this experience of Vaheguru, you will never ever walk away from the lower rases of this world. And it says in Gurbani, Ete ras sarir ke. You got so many ras of the sarir, physical ras. Where will the naam come? Where will we find naam if we're stuck in this ras? So then, another way of understanding Vaheguru, Guru Sahib tells us, is that Vaheguru is enticing, the enticer. This relates to the same thing about relationship. Vaheguru is a husband lover, because it says in Gurbani, Lal Rangile Pritam Man Mohan Mera Man Laga Tohe. Oh Vaheguru, you've enticed my mind. I'm in love with you. Yeah? Addictive. Man Mohan means that your mind is now Mohigya. Just like we say Maya Mohini, Vaheguru is also Mohini. On the one side, Maya has got us trapped in thinking the world is real. On the other side, when we fall into Vaheguru, then Vaheguru becomes Mohini as well. Your mind gets trapped. That's why Manmohan is a very common Punjabi name. It means your mind is enticed by Vaheguru, enraptured by Vaheguru. The last two I want to just talk about before we finish off, three, is that Vaheguru is described to us as our friend. It's a very important one, because when we meet someone, only after we meet them can we become their friend. We can't build this friendship with Vaheguru without meeting Vaheguru. So naam is the beginning of a friendship as well. The relationship is a husband-wife relationship, but the beginning is the friend. And in Gurbani it says that Mitra pyara Nanak ji main chhad gavaya rang kusambe pulli. My beloved friend, I lost my beloved friend. Why? Because I was trapped in the rang kusambe. Kusambe is a flower which gives a very impermanent color. You put it on and you wash it and it washes off. So this world is like that. Guru Sahib tells us this world has got a color which is not permanent. It will wash off. But the real permanent color is Vaheguru's love. So rang kusambe pulli. I got lost in this impermanent color and I forgot my beloved friend. Mitra pyara Nanak ji main chhad gavaya rang kusambe pulli. It's that same word Mitra pyara that Guru Gobind Singh Ji uses when he's in Machiwara and he's lost his 2 elder sons. And of course they know everything, they know their younger sons have died as well. And they're outside, they're sleeping in the forest. What do they cry out? They cry out, Mitra pyara, Mitra pyare nu hal murida da kehna. Tell my beloved Lord about my state. What is that state? It's not that they're in pain. It's not that they're sad. What is that state? Tod bin rog rajaiyan da odan nag nivasan da rehna. Oh Vaheguru, without you, I am living in a den of snakes. I don't even want to put the rajai over me. I don't want to put a rog. It's a disease to put a rajai on top of me because I want you, I want you, I want you, I want you. This is the state that Guru Sahib was at that point. So this Vaheguru is our best friend, is our beloved friend, Mitra Pyara. Another word used by Guru Sahib to describe Vaheguru is perfect. The Vaheguru is Pura. Pura Prabh Aradhya, Pura Jaka Nao, Nanak Pura Paya, Pure Ke Gun Gao. Pura means perfect, just like a circle is perfect. It's complete. Actually, the word Pura means complete, nothing missing. So, Guru Sahib tells us that Vaheguru has made no mistakes in this world. We might think, man, he should have done like this. We haven't got the plan. We haven't got the master plan. God knows the master plan. So there's nothing missing in our life. It's perfect as it is. We're the ones that haven't got the mat to see it. Then the second thing is, because he's perfect, he is pure and he's Niranjan. So perfection also means Niranjan. Niranjan means without any mark. Like we say Ad, Anil. Anil means without any marks. So Vaheguruji is pure, purest of the pure. And also, the Vaheguru doesn't make any mistakes. So in Bani we'll see later on that it says ki pullan andar sabko apul guru kartar. Everybody is able to make mistakes. There's only 2 people that are accepted as not being able to make mistakes. One is Vaheguru Kartar, second one is Guru. Guru is perfect and Vaheguru is perfect. And then last one I want to finish off is Beyant, infinite. Vaheguruji described to us as infinite. Words that mean infinite are Beyant, Asank, Agam, Agad. It's unknowable. It's beyond comprehension for us. Vaheguruji is just huge. And in fact, the bigger we study science and we realize how big the galaxies are, we can then appreciate even more how big must Vaheguru be. Because the galaxy is so huge and everything is so big and made 13.7 billion years ago, and how big must be the one that made all of them and controls every single movement of every single leaf inside every single one of them, the whole of the planets. So Vaheguru for us is beyond our comprehension. Only thing we can do, as Guru Gobind Singh Ji tells us in Job Sahib, at the beginning, Maharaj says ki Chakkar Jahan ar Baran Jat ar Paat Nahinje Roop Rang ar Rekh Pek Ko Kehn Sakat Keh ar Chal Murat An Pau Prakash Amitoj Hije Kot Indra Indran Sahi Sahan Ganije Tribhavan Mehi Sur Nar Asur Net Net Bantrin Keht Tav Sarv Naam Kathe Kavan Karam Naam Ban Sumat. How can I say all your names, Vaheguru? Imagine this, one page. Is it going to be anywhere close to describing the glories of that amazing God? Tere kavan kavan gun keh keh gawa. How can I sing the praise of my great Lord? But Guru Gobind Singh tells us, I can never say all your names. But what does a clever person do? Sumat means clever person. What does he do? He describes your qualities. So we can only describe the qualities of Vaheguru, we can never encompass the whole of Vaheguru. It's that big. But it can worship Vaheguru. So the next step, what is our concept of Guru, and what is the Sikh supposed to look at the Guru as? Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Vaheguru, Vaheguru.